As poor as West Ham were, and I'm sure we'll talk about them another day in terms of the issues that they have, does it feel like Chelsea might just be clicking a little bit?
Maybe. I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, it's a nice problem to have, João Maresca, but you've got so many players. I think it's such an unbalanced squad. Sorry, they've got a lot of players, a lot of number 10s, a lot of wide players. A lot of them won't play, won't kick the ball. But he makes big decisions, he's got a clear identity.
He's done what lots of people were suggesting.
He has, and it's the only thing he can do. And he probably doesn't want to do that, but he can't have anyone with negative mindset coming into his group. He has to stick to the 25 what he's picked and chosen for the Premier League, and they're repaying him. I think it really helps when you get a solid back four. I think Gusto's out injured. He's a big miss. Disasi went in last week. He left him out again this week. But I think he's got good types in there now. And the more they play together, the more continuity you're going to get and the chances they create. And if Jackson starts scoring on a regular basis, as we've seen, his confidence is high at the moment, they could push up that table. I'm not sure what their target and their aspirations are. But Chelsea, you would think, over recent history, want to win the Premier League. I think they're away from doing that, but I think certainly top four should be in their target.
I thought the only thing that would undermine them would be that defence, because it had been poor for a long time. But I think that's only their second clean sheet in 18 Premier League games away from home. Yeah. And that's a good sign. Obviously, they were fortunate to beat Bournemouth 9 days ago now, because Bournemouth had the penalty, they missed it. Had they scored, it would have been a very different game. But they had a clean sheet there, the clean sheet against West Ham, and they're starting to click.
This looks relatively, and I know Brighton are, not the easiest team to come up against. They've got the Liverpool game in there, and Forest can cause teams problems on their day. It just doesn't look like the worst run of fixtures for Chelsea over the next few weeks, though, does it?
It doesn't, no. And what you see with Chelsea is that they're starting to click in a way that if you turn up like West Ham, they go to West Ham, and that's what West Ham are with Palmer, with Jackson in that kind of form, with Sancho, with this new lease of life, with everything with Caicedo, the way they're playing. Yes, they have to get some more familiarity in that back. They will dismantle teams. It depends on what we see when they play against the City and Arsenal, and how they set up. We'll find out more about Maresca. But in respect of everybody else, Chelsea now are a team that's coming. You can see it, and you can see it in the manager as well.
It might well be coming for Chelsea, and not a minute too soon as far as the Chelsea fans are concerned. But Enzo Maresca might well be the man who's managed to knit that huge squad together at Chelsea, certainly the ones that he's working with. Well, Cole Palmer on the score sheet, obviously, but 2 for Nicholas Jackson, the much maligned Nicholas Jackson. Now, his numbers haven't been too bad, but really we've focused, when we've covered it, on the chances that he's missed, even though, Righty, you've seen the potential in him from early on. Yeah,
but when you watch him, excuse me, when you watch him and you see the capabilities, that's what you judge them. You judge them on, obviously, goal scoring, but when you watch what else they do,
the pace, tools he's got.
Thank you. Yeah. When you see that, then you feel to yourself, well, when you see him finishing, you think, well, he could have done that. He could have done this better. Yeah. And this is why I remember a while back at Kells, I said, depending on his personality and what he's capable of, if he's working at that, he will be a problem for people, because he's got pace, he's got link-up play. So, good finish from him the other day. I thought West Ham were very poor, by the way. But a good finish from him there. If he gets the right coaching around him, he could become prolific.
What's the biggest asset he needs? Is that the mindset?
It's the mindset when you get in there. It's something that, you mentioned, like I always make, at the moment, I mentioned Harry Kane, Robbie Fowler. When them people get in the box or in and around the box, it's all about the basics right. You know what I mean? He's got flair, obviously he's got flair, but them guys have got a certain amount of flair when they're finishing. But it's the basics are very, very high up in what they're doing. They go back to the basics and they finish clinically. If he gets that in his game, where if I'm here, I've got to make sure I hit it over there, because the goalie's doing, he's got to go into that mindset of striking, so as then he'll become so clinical, and with his pace and with his link-up plays, set up a goal for him as well. Chelsea made, yes, I can understand a 9-year contract now.
I remember when I was there and we talked about him, and I remember saying at the time that he reminded me a lot of Nicolas Anelka in his first season. He was alongside, I think Henry was still at the club, and people were looking unfavourably at Anelka, but you could see he had the tools, like you say, and he turned out to be fantastic for the club. Jackson, the best thing that happened for him, I think, this summer was that they didn't sign Osimhen.
Yes.
Because had they done that, they would have invested everything into him and he would have been sidelined. But now he's got that burden on his shoulders.
Reading money left today.
Well, that's true.
But it's a good shout. It's a very good point.
But he does, and he's now got the confidence of the club.
Exactly what happens. When you ain't got someone over your shoulder like that, Kels, you feel like, okay, the next chance I miss doesn't mean I'm gonna be left out the team.
Yeah.
And then just like when you are scoring, the next chance you score, it gives you more confidence.
And Cuckoo comes on at Bournemouth, scores the winner. You know, you think during the week he would have knocked on the manager's door and said, "Look, I've turned the game." Jadon Sancho started. He come on and done brilliant against Bournemouth. He starts against West Ham. Now on Cuckoo. I wondered if he just knocked on his door and said, "Do I deserve a start? I've come on, I've scored the winner for you." But no, he's stuck with Jackson. Gives a massive confidence boost to Jackson. And then when he looks around at Nkuku, I'm not saying he did knock on his door, but he probably said, that's why. This boy now is growing in stature. You know, he has got the attributes, like the boys said. You can't continue liking players to Didier Drogba. You know, he was a one-off at that club.
Yeah,
but someone needs to come and take the mantle. I think the confidence he's been given by this manager, the chances what he's being created by Cole Palmer and the like, I think he will score a lot of goals. You know, we never give him the credit what he deserves. You have a look at his goal-scoring record. I mean, what's he got now in the Premier League? I mean, he's scoring goals. He's up there in the charts. You're not going to catch Haaland. No one's going to catch Haaland unless something drastic happens to him. But he's up there with everyone else in the Premier League. 18
and he's
in the
doing
Premier
really
League
in terms of goals from open play as well. If you take penalties out of it, he's even more competitive in terms of the number of goals that he's scored. I think it's only Haaland from open play who's got more than him since May last season, I think it is. But it's been really good for him. Like 40 appearances, 18 goals. That's not too bad. We'll pretty much won every other game, and 7 assists in there. And maybe what's most encouraging is that it feels like it's improving. It's not. He's not been standing still.
Yeah, but this is the thing, Kels. This is why it's very silly and naive to condemn a striker and say, "Oh, he's this and he's that." When you see him come to this league and miss a few chances and he's a little bit erratic, and you have to give a striker time, because not like defenders, not like midfielders, a striker can turn it like on his head. Could turn it on his head. You know, defenders, if they make mistakes, they're scrutinised for mistakes they may make, so they get nervous. You know, midfielders, you know what I mean, they get the same criticism. Oh, if they're not looking right, if they're not passing quick, if they don't turn and pass quick enough, they get that stick and say, oh, they're not used to the Premier League. A striker, you can be up there, you can be playing poorly, but finishing well, and people will give you the opportunity to keep going.
What I like about those goals is that they weren't tap-ins from close range. He had time to home in on goal, and he had to think about it, make the right decision, and both times he made the right decision. The second goal with the outside the right foot, even better than the first, and you could see the confidence kind of coursing through.
Yeah.
Wow, what a beautiful performance by Chelsea at London Stadium. Wow. London Derby is always a difficult game to play, especially West Ham, who are a kind of a bogey team to Chelsea. And to go there and drop that kind of performance, wow, I'm impressed. And also, apart from being clinical in front of goal, they were able to be solid at the back, you know, drop their shape, you know, defended their lines, you know, defended balls in the box. You know, that's the kind of very difficult to do against West Ham, because they put a lot of balls in the box. And then Chelsea could have even scored more goals if they were clinical with their decision making, especially Noni Madueke, you know, who had a couple of chances to square balls to people who are free in the box, but decided to go for goal. But all in all, that's an outstanding performance. You know, you don't expect Chelsea to go to West Ham and roll them over at this point, because they are also still building and they are not there yet as a team. Manchester United, when they struggled a little, Manchester City, when they struggled a little bit, West Ham created chances against them. So it's not like Chelsea, we are just rolling over a team that was poor, but they also had a game plan, because every transition was very dangerous. They scored a couple of goals from transition and nicking the ball in the midfield, setting up attackers. And Jackson had an insane game today. 2 goals and 1 assist, and he was really clinical with his chances. You know, we always talk about Jackson and missing chances, but not today at all. He put away his chances like a seasoned pro, especially the second goal with outside of his right boot. Wow, that was very, very impressive. That shows a guy who is high on confidence at the moment. Wow, what a performance by the Blues. You know, solid 3 points that will take them to second place in the table for the time being on goal difference, before other teams start playing later in the day. But a good afternoon for the Blues and the one to hold on to for the next game. And I think that as a team that they are gelling pretty well. Enzo Maresca is doing a very good job, and if you look at players, you know, on the bench that he brought on, the Nkunkus, the Felix, the Zassi, they have a solid bench, and that's one thing, you know, people underrate about this Chelsea team. It's not like the season really starts after December. That's in January next year, you know, and that's when teams start falling apart. Injuries setting, players, you know, getting tired, and you look at teams like Chelsea with that kind of bench, they are not gonna struggle much because they will have adequate players replacements, you know, as replacements, and players who are close to the level of players, you know, who are facing regulars. So to me, I don't know about you, but if they keep improving this way, I think they are going to make top 4. If they keep improving this way, they are going to make top 4, because with the squad they have, I don't see them falling apart, you know, at the turn of the year. I don't see that happening. I think that they will hold on and then finish the season very strongly. And don't forget, with a new manager, new philosophy, they can only get stronger from here. So which means by the turn of the year, they will be on fire if everything goes according to plan, which looks more likely at the moment. So it's been beautiful afternoon for the Blues.